Join me as I take on the challenge of transforming these thrifted items I received in the mail from Connie, the painted photographer, into holiday decor. You're probably asking yourself, why would Connie send Sylvia a bunch of junk in the mail? Well, let me tell you. It's part of Sonnet's Garden Bloom's holiday flippin' frenzy. With the spin of a wheel, fate decided who we sent items to and who we received items from. And I was very fortunate enough to have Connie send me items in the mail. And yes, the rumor is true. I received a decapitated duck. Connie says she mailed the duck as one piece, however it arrived in two pieces. Hi, I'm Sylvia from Backyard Brushes in Fountain City, Wisconsin, and today's video is all about Sonnet's Garden Bloom's Creative Membership's Holiday Flippin' Frenzy, where we all drew names, we sent items, we received items, and were challenged to transform them into holiday decor. So, let's roll up our sleeves and let's get creating. Project 1, I chose the metal canister from Pure One Imports, and I gave it a coating of Salvation Solution from DIY and let it sit overnight. By the way, this canister is where I found the decapitated duck hidden. I gave the canister a coating of Highlander Red by Fusion. I mixed up Antique Ironstone by Sweet Pickins Milk Paint, and I gave the canister and the lid 2 coats of paint. I hit it with the heat gun and got some great chipping effects, and I touched up the red with a spotter brush. Using a sanding sponge, I was able to sand off some of the chippiness. And then I wanted to summon my inner Connie, and Connie reminds me of angels. So I chose the IOD Holiday Release Angel. It's a stamp from the holiday release, and using Tomato by IOD, I just stamped the angel right on, and I did seal it with Big Top. Using DIY dark wax, I went around the whole canister and the lid, wiping off the excess wax with a paper towel to give it that vintage look. For project 2, I chose to transform a salt shaker and pepper grinder set. I used Salvation Solution to cover them. And then for the pepper grinder, I did remove all the innards inside, leaving the hole exposed on the cover. I used E6000 to glue the cover back onto the base. I am now in love with the Sweet Pickins basil. So I mixed up some basil and some Antique Ironstone by Sweet Pickins. One of the shakers got 2 coats of Antique Ironstone, the second one 2 coats of basil. I sealed the pieces in liquid patina, and I'm told afterwards I probably shouldn't have done that. It can reactivate the paint. I didn't know that. However, just so you know, last year I transformed a salt and pepper shaker set into cute little snowmen. And I was tempted to do the same thing again this year, but I did choose to try a different project. Once the shaker and grinder are all dry, I decided to use a beeswax bar from Sweet Pickins, and I just randomly rubbed that bar over the shafts and around the shakers and grinder. I covered the Antique Ironstone with 2 coats of basil, and I covered the basil with 2 coats of Antique Ironstone, and I hit them both with the heat gun. and I was able to get some beautiful chippiness, which I sanded with a sanding sponge. Using DIY dark wax, I sealed the items. I completely covered them in wax, and then I used a paper towel to remove the excess wax. The wax, one, helped seal the projects, and also it really showed off that chippy goodness that we had achieved. I then decided to use some wire picture holders that I had previously purchased off Amazon. I gave them 2 coats of Iron by Dixie Belle and sprayed them with the green spray to achieve a rusty effect, sealed them with Big Top, added some holiday floral, a ribbon, and the project is complete. For project 3, I am summoning again my inner Connie. I'm painting the frame Midnight Blue by Fusion by DIY. For the backing of the sign, I chose to use crinoline mixed with burlap by DIY to kind of tone down that yellow tint of the burlap. I stamped some IOD snowflakes onto the backing board with IOD China Blue. And I did miss some of the snowflakes, so I just went back and individually stamped those. Connie has taught me to not be afraid to layer items, and she's also introduced the campfire marshmallow tin to me. So I printed off on rice paper a campfire Santa for the marshmallows that I purchased off at Etsy, and I decoupaged it right onto the back of the board. I have some negative space to fill, so that's where these snowflakes came in handy. And I kind of took the snowflake stamps and tried to layer them on top of the decoupage paper to kind of help blend it in. Using a technique I used by Tara from the Reclaimed Ranch at Sonnet's Retreat, I dappled some paint and mixed a little colors in to get rid of the edges of the decoupage paper. Using my DIY, I think, letterpress stamps, I stamped on Santa Approved to help fill up that negative space, and I sealed it with liquid patina. Using DIY dark wax, I went around and randomly aged my sign and wiped off the extra wax with a paper towel. I sanded the outside of the frame, and I also used DIY dark wax to distress and seal the frame. I inserted the sign, and I have a decoupaged sign completely inspired by Connie. For project 4, it's the headless duck. First, I decided to clean the duck really well using alcohol, straight alcohol, and a baby wipe. Once that was dry, I used E6000 to glue the head back onto the duck, and I let it dry overnight. I chose to use Aviary by DIY, and I mixed it with some salt wash to give the paint some texture. That way, if there was any lines left from gluing the head back on, it would be masked by the textured paint. I covered the duck with 2 coats of the Aviary mixed with salt wash, and when it was dry, I sealed the duck with DIY Big Top. I chose to use white wax by DIY to bring out the details of the duck. Dark wax probably would have looked better. However, I was thinking white snow holiday since my duck really doesn't go with the holiday theme. I just wish I'd purchased a little doll's Santa hat for the duck, but I couldn't find one. Please let me know in the comments below which one of these transformations was your favorite project today. I'll leave a link in the description box with a playlist for our holiday Flippin' Frenzy collaboration. You'll want to make sure to catch all those videos. You'll definitely want to see Connie's video, the painted photographer, to see what she did with the items she received from Lisa, Gypsy Woman Charm. And you'll definitely not want to miss Shelly from the Vintage Hen and Chicks video, as she'll be transforming items that I sent her, and I can guarantee you I was not as nice to her as Connie was to me. If you found this video inspirational, please hit subscribe below and follow me along on my creative journey. Thank you.